Good evening. My name is Andre Quintero, and I have the privilege and honor of being the mayor of the city of El Monte. Tonight, I'm sharing a special address that normally we reserve for a time more like in July, the State of the City address. But given the pandemic that we're in and the crisis situation that not only our city is facing, but our nation is facing, we thought it would be appropriate at this time to give a presentation on what the city is doing to try to address the many issues that are coming to us as a result of this pandemic. And the theme of tonight, many themes of tonight, one of them includes leading in these times of crisis. We've got leadership, communication, public safety, and interagency collaboration. Leading the way with strong leadership, I'd like to thank the team of people that are involved in this crisis management situation. First and foremost, I want to thank my colleagues on the City Council, our Mayor Pro Tem, Maria Morales, Councilmember Jessica Ancona, Councilmember Victoria Martinez Muela, and Councilmember Jerry Velasco. Without a unified council working together to try to do the very best we can in this time of crisis, we would not be able to manage what is going on right now. So I want to give them my deepest appreciation. Tonight in the chamber, socially distancing, of course, our Mayor Pro Tem, Maria Morales, and Councilmember Jerry Velasco, tuned in from remote locations, my other two colleagues. And we have been having council meetings, and we'll talk about that as well, adjusting how we've done council meetings. I'll discuss that a little later, but I want to give them a special thanks for all their hard work. Also want to give a thanks to the leader of our crisis management team here administratively, and that is Alma Martinez, our city manager. Alma's a new city manager to us. She's been with us for now more than almost 2 years, actually. First as assistant city manager, then as a city manager. And I can tell you this, in the short amount of time she's been our city manager, the kind of work that she has done has been truly extraordinary. We are fortunate, even given this horrible situation that we find ourselves in, very fortunate to have her as the head of our administrative team and all the people that make up the administrative staff and every single employee that works for the city of El Monte. We'll talk a little bit about that in future slides, but I just want to give a special thanks to our entire crisis management team. In terms of crisis management, we've looked at 3 different areas to communicate to you today. The immediate response to the crisis, a secondary response, and then the valuation and budget forecasting. As you can all imagine, with the challenges that this pandemic has presented the city, we're doing triage, doing as much as we can in the short amount of time that we have to try to address as many issues as we can, and at the same time keep an eye out on short-term financial situation and long-term financial situation. And we'll discuss a little bit more about that a little later. In terms of our first response, that was the mobilization part of our response. It included issues related to food, housing, and employee safety. Activities that we've engaged in related to food and basic essentials include the following. We changed the delivery model for elderly nutrition. We used to have a wonderful nutrition program at our senior center, but recognizing that everyone had to shelter in place, stay at home safe, we had to come up with a different model. So as a result, we've served more than 3,128 meals to homebound seniors. Coordinated a food pantry that served so far 1,100 families. Coordinated a hot food distribution which has served more than 2,500 families. We distributed Northgate gift cards to about 300 residents, handled more than 2,100 calls related to COVID-19, provided delivery of essential goods to 60 residents, conducted 150 wellness checks by telephone, and established emergency transportation services. I'll discuss a little later how you can find out more about all these different services. They are ongoing, and we continue to provide these services as needed. In terms of transportation, the city provides fixed route bus service, dial-a-ride programs, commuter shuttles, services to seniors. As you can imagine, ridership has decreased, but deliveries have increased. Transport and delivery of essentials to residents has been a key component to our transportation services, making sure that we get goods to the folks that need them the most. Housing-related actions, we took the following steps. The City Council passed an urgency ordinance dealing with a moratorium on evictions. For more information on that, we will have on our website, but as you can imagine, there's a number of our residents that could not pay rent on April 1st and are struggling to be able to even pay rent on May 1st. We're cognizant of that. We provided the legal mechanism for people to be able to have conversations with their landlords, to be able to avoid evictions during this time. If you find yourself in a situation related to a potential eviction, please contact City Hall, either through our virtual City Hall, or call us by phone. And all these numbers and resources will be available at the end of this presentation, so you'll be able to know exactly where to call and who to call for services related to preventing your family from being evicted. We coordinated with consultants for updated services. That includes Neighborhood Legal Services. Neighborhood Legal Services has a wonderful reputation in our community of service for many, many years, supporting our families. They are now located, they have an office located here in the city of El Monte. And we've worked with them on the scope of services so that they can keep families in their homes and prevent evictions. We've been working also with another nonprofit, Volunteers of America, also here in the city of El Monte. They've provided shelters and hotel vouchers to many residents who need them. We've handled more than 200 calls related to shelter services, hotel vouchers, eviction protection, rental assistance, and utility assistance. Also, I'd like to digress for just one brief moment and talk a little bit about a program that the state has embarked upon in coordination with the county, and that's called Project Room Key. It's a way to keep hotels and motels filled during this crisis and to provide a much needed service of housing for many people who are unsheltered. We're so proud that one of our hotels on Garvey has been contracted to do this. I've had a chance to visit and just so pleased with the proprietors there, Bart and Anita Patel, for what they're doing for people who need this shelter the most. It is literally in my backyard, and I'm proud of the work that's being done by the state, the county, and our local community to make sure that people that are unsheltered, people that need to be treated with dignity and respect are treated that way, and so that we can prevent the spread of this virus in the community of unsheltered people. Now, as you can imagine, the city of El Monte is also an employer. We employ more than 300 people, whether they're police officers or public works workers or lifeguards or administrative assistants or managers, or you can just imagine all the different services that the city provides. So we wanted to make sure that we were protecting our employees, and that was something very important to us. We coordinated with the city attorney to devise policies related to COVID-19. And when I say we, that's a pretty expansive we. Most of the work that's done here is done by our administrative team, led by Alma Martinez. But of course, as council members, we approve the work that's being done. There is a temporary leave policy and FMLA for COVID-19 related issues. We communicated all these policies through Human Resources. We established an employee testing procedure with Reliant Health, developed alternate work plans for employees, participated in conference calls with various agencies, including the LA County Department of Public Health and ICRMA. And we're tracking and processing all COVID-19 claims as well. We're trying to make sure that our employees do not catch the virus, because not only is it not good for them, but it's also not good for their families. All our employees are required to wear masks, including our police officers when they go out on duty. In terms of public safety, our police department, activity includes We've had a decrease in calls for service. There has been a little bit less crime as a result of everyone staying at home. That is helping. We've increased officer-initiated service, where officers basically take the initiative to look for things and be proactive to try to make sure that we can prevent crime from taking place. We provided police presence at all distribution events. As you can imagine, sometimes things get a little tense. When people are out there, whether it's on the street or at supermarkets and stuff like that, when they see someone who's not wearing a mask, things of that sort, it could create some tense situations. And our police have been available to try to keep the calm. We also, our police department has coordinated donation of PPEs for first responders. That's protective equipment. And a patrol schedule has also changed effective April 6, 2020. I want to give a special thanks to all our police officers. The city of El Monte has done things a certain way for so many years. We're in an extremely unusual, unprecedented situation. This is the time when we're asking of our employees to think outside the box and come up with different ways of delivering service. They have done that, and I'm so grateful to our police department, our chief of police, and our city manager for trying to come up with ways to provide quality service, maybe a little different, and that's what I'm talking about, the schedule changing. Maybe a little different, but still effective for our community. So thank you, El Monte Police Department. They also did, because we have heard some complaints from people about businesses that are non-essential that have maybe remained open. So we did location checks on all the massage parlors. They are supposed to be closed, and they were all in fact closed. We also have scheduled extra patrol for the testing site at the San Gabriel Valley Airport. As you may be aware, we do provide testing at the San Gabriel Valley Airport. Right now it's limited to people who are experiencing symptoms related to COVID-19, but hopefully that will be open up pretty soon to other folks. We're tracking all employees with possible exposure and making sure that they get the appropriate care and protocols in place to protect themselves and their families. And our police department has done an incredible job. They visited every single assisted care facility in the city to make sure that they were fine and managing through this pandemic. So that was the initial response. You know, it was like drinking water from a fire hydrant. You can just imagine the issues that have come up and how they've been addressed. So in our secondary response, we came up with, remember, whenever I say we came up with, I'm really talking about our administrative team and the city council supporting our administrative team. A virtual city hall. So we closed our city hall. It's closed from the public, but we wanted to make sure that there was a portal for being able to engage with the city, and that's our virtual city hall. Not everyone has access to the internet, we recognize that, so we've also communicated via other methods to get to the attention of folks who need to have certain services provided. And you can always call as well, City Hall, and access services. But for those of you that are a little more tech savvy and have access to the internet, you can go to our virtual City Hall. You can access the virtual City Hall through our website, www.lmonteca.gov, and then there's a link for the virtual City Hall. So we encourage you to click on that link. It has up-to-date information. We try to update it every day, and it also has a link where you can start a chat with a member of the staff and try to get any questions answered. We also created a business support system and interagency collaboration. I'm going to talk about those three topics now. We launched Virtual City Hall. We changed the format of city council meetings. There is nothing prescribed in the code that describes exactly how you're supposed to have these meetings. As some of you that have tuned into our council meetings know now, two of our members are calling in from their locations. Totally acceptable. We could actually have a council meeting all on Zoom if we wanted to, where we're all in our respective homes. That is a possibility. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but hopefully we will soon. What I can tell you is that the format has changed. Typically at a city council meeting, we have people in the council chambers, And whenever an issue comes up that people want to talk about, or if they see something on the agenda and they're passionate about saying something about them, they come to the council meetings. Unfortunately, that is currently not possible. So we tried broadcasting the meetings on Facebook, live streaming it at our website as well. We're toying with different formats to try to figure out the best way to not only be able to have the meeting in a professional way, but also to meaningfully engage the public in participation. Because that's something that is a value as a democracy that we have, regardless of the emergency situation that we may be in. We value public participation, and we want to make sure that there is a fountain for that information to come back to us. You can always email the city clerk if there's an issue that's on the agenda that you want us to read into the record, and that's always still a possibility. So we're trying to figure out ways to do that in an appropriate way. Unfortunately, I can tell you, when you're in cyberspace, there are folks that take advantage of that. Council meetings are a professional forum for communicating things that need to be communicated on the agenda. We've had some folks hijack some of those meetings by putting comments that are clearly not appropriate and against the rules as proffered by the city. And so we're hopeful that we'll find the right medium that allows people to be able to communicate appropriately on the issues that matter to them most. We produced 14 video public service announcements. We've hosted a conference call with local businesses where we had 200 people participating, and we had a subsequent meeting as well. We reached out for our small businesses in the community to about 3,000 folks, and we've had good participation, at least in the local calls that we've had. We hosted a conference call with coordinating council where 30 people participated. We had 30 participants. We had the newsletter. We did a special newsletter, COVID-19 edition newsletter. And that went out to every postal patron in the city of El Monte. And the goal is to try to provide as much information as we can in different ways as possible. Some people like to read. Some people don't want to read. And that's okay. Some people are audio learners. So we're trying, this is another way of trying to communicate information in a way that people can feel comfortable with, recognizing fully well that not everyone speaks English. So we've got folks from our Chinese community, Vietnamese community, Spanish-speaking community. We want to make sure that we continue to find ways to address concerns in the different languages as well, so that no one feels like they're left out and no one feels like they're not getting the information that they need to be able to protect their families. We've created 120 flyers, increased social media communication. We've increased more than 190 posts on Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter. We also created, and this is regarding businesses, the Virtual Business Resource Center. We created a small business grant program. Some of you may have heard about that. It was a lot in the news over the last couple days. 55, we have enough funding for 55 folks. When I tell you how many applications we've received, you won't believe me, but we've gotten more than 700 applications for 55 grants. It's obviously going to be a challenge, competitive. We don't have enough resources to be able to provide funding for every single one of those applicants, but we are going to share the concerns of our business community to our congresswoman and to our state representatives to let them know that there is a dire need for this type of a service. And if they can get it funded, it will be appreciated, and they can fund it through cities. We purchased laptops for virtual business centers so that we can make sure that our staff is capable of addressing the issues related to our business community. We've contacted 3,000 businesses to participate in calls with the city manager and contacted 52 businesses to be featured on social media. Interagency collaboration. This has been absolutely essential. The city of El Monte can't do these things alone. We need the support and the help of other agencies, whether it's the state, federal government, or our county government. LA County has helped facilitate the testing at the San Gabriel Airport in El Monte. We collaborated with the Mountain View School District to provide 1,000 internet hotspots and service for children in the Mountain View School District, and coordinated mobile shower facilities for homeless people. We want to give a special thanks to one of our key partners in all this, and that's Supervisor Hilda Solis of the 1st District. As many of you are aware, Supervisor Solis is also a resident of our community. I have been so honored to work side by side with her, and it's just been tremendous to see her. Because of the experience that she has at the federal, state, and local level, she has been a tremendous asset for our city in supporting us in what we do. So I want to give a special thank you, gracias, to Hilda Solis, our supervisor. Also the local schools, working with our local schools as well. I know that the superintendents are in touch with our city manager. Our Savior Center. Our Savior Center is a nonprofit that's been working in our community for so many years, providing medical services and other services. We opened up a food pantry with them, and it's going exceptionally well, and we're so grateful to our Savior Center for their partnership. Northgate Market as well has been a wonderful partner. El Pescador, Denny's, and Norm's. We've also been in the news, as you can imagine. And we've been covered by local media outlets as well, all the things that we're doing so that we can continue to be a model and an exemplar for other communities near us. In fact, our city manager has even communicated to us to let us know that other cities are following our lead in terms of some of the programs that we've been engaged in. Emergency Rental Assistance Program. We've been hearing from a lot of our tenants, residents here in the community, and mortgage holders in the community who are having difficulties. So available on May 4th, we're going to dedicate $250,000 in CDBG CV, which is coronavirus funds, in the amount of $250,000. Eligible residents will be able to apply for funds that can be used for rent and/or mortgage assistance for up to 2 months. Payments will be made directly to the provider of such services on behalf of the individual or family. In order to receive these grants, though, you will have to qualify by income. Low income at 50% per county limits, eligible for payments of up to 2 months. Qualifying income requirements, low income at 80% per county limits, eligible for 1 month payment. So this information will be available as of May 4th. And even though we may not be able to fund every single person that applies, we encourage you to apply, because like the business grant program, if we know what the need is, we can try to seek additional resources in other places to be able to assist. We know that so many of you are struggling right now, and we want to make sure that we provide the services as best we can to each and every one of you. Also, coming up is our senior air conditioning program. Coming soon, May 4th, we're going to have eligible seniors will be available to apply for an air conditioning unit. Normally, we open up our facilities as cooling centers for seniors that don't have air conditioning units. So we've decided to roll out a program that will allow seniors to be able to cool at least one room of their home off so that they can stay cool in their homes while they're sheltered in place. This is a one-time expense, but hopefully we'll have years of service to all the residents that participate in this program. Funding will be solicited through grant sources as well for this. The next stage is the recovery phase, where we're going to have financial forecasting and a FEMA reimbursement process. Before we get into that, and the next aspect of this presentation, it's going to relate to the budget. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes. Please stay tuned. Thank you. We're back. Again, this is Mayor Andre Quintero. And what we've been doing has been going over our response, initial and secondary responses to this COVID-19 pandemic here in the city of Monte. We're now going to move into a portion which is part of the analysis related to our finances and our financial forecasting and FEMA reimbursement process. Know that we're coding everything that we need to code that is COVID-19 related, so that we can make an appeal to the federal government and state government and county government at the appropriate time for resources for our city. So this is an initial review of our mid-year revenues. We had received, as part of an ad hoc committee, similar information with around the time before the shutdown of the city. As you can imagine, this is definitely, this pandemic, COVID-19 crisis is going to have a tremendous impact on our finances. But fortunately, over the years, the last 10 years, we've been putting money away into a reserve fund. And a lot of times when we're making decisions on budgets, people see that reserve fund and think, oh, well, we're flush with money. But that reserve fund was there for a very specific purpose, an emergency situation. And we're in that kind of an emergency situation right now. So the total revenues so far, actual July 2019 to February of 2020, is approximately $38,426,000. The budgeted amount, or the budget amount for the entire year, is about $76 million. So we're about halfway to that budgeted amount. The services that we provide and the expenditures involved include police services, fire services, public works, economic development, parks and recreations, legal services, and administration. And the actual year-to-date from July to February is about $45,768,000. And this presentation, these slides, will be available online as well for those of you that would like to take a look at them afterward and have a more critical review of them. So we have some proposed budget adjustments. We have an additional $1 million from the Cesar Chavez Foundation. They closed a deal to provide some housing, and as part of that deal, we're required to give the city $1 million. So that's an increase in revenue that we were able to book before this pandemic, before the Safe at Home order hit. One-time revenue of about $7 million due to a bond issuance. That's going to help us in terms of refinancing some long-term indebtedness that we have related to our pensions, and will provide some revenue for this particular budget cycle. We have a decrease in development fees. As you can imagine, some of our development deals in the community are on hold right now because of the situation that we're in and other reasons. And so that we've decreased that forecast from where it was to $4.9 million. There's been a reduction in police overtime, due in part to the changes in the shifts that I mentioned earlier. Reduction in the non-safety staff cost of $1.4 million. That's a hiring freeze. The city is engaged in a hiring freeze, and we should see salary savings as a result. And we reduced operating and capital cost expenses of about $1 million. We're not doing any new purchases. So the net change is about $5,790,000 in adjustments. Bottom line, the original revenue projection was about $38,426,000. Original expenditure projection was about $45,768,000. The original estimated surplus deficit was about $7,341,000 as the budget cycle was full course. With the proposed adjustments of additional $5,790,000, we end up with an estimated deficit of about $1.5 million. So this budget cycle, where we projected a balanced budget, it looks like we're going to be in about a $1.5 million deficit. The good news is we do have reserves to be able to cover those expenses. We want to make sure that we keep a watchful eye on our spending as we move forward, so that we can continue to provide the services. This is very much like the 2008 situation where the city and the state and so many others were hit really hard with the Great Recession. This may be worse than the Great Recession. We don't know yet, but we're planning for the worst and praying for the best. In my 10 years here, slowly we've been able to improve with each year our revenues in the city. This is just happening at a horrible time, not just for all of you, but for our community as a whole. Because this government is not about 5 people elected in office. It's not about our city management. This government is about each and every one of us in this city who either live here, who do business here, who raise families here. And so we want to make sure that we make prudent financial decisions on your behalf. As part of the recovery plan, we're going to defer all unnecessary capital costs payable by the general fund, reduce part-time staffing, reduce dependency on third-party contract labor, reduce unnecessary professional services, and consult with bargaining units regarding other budget adjustments. One thing that I can say, having been here for now 10 years, is we have some extraordinary people working on your behalf in the city of El Monte. And they have contracts with the city. Most of our employees have contracts with the city of El Monte. We want to honor those contracts. And we also want to work with our employees to see what we can do to make the appropriate adjustments so that we can all move this city forward with our employees and our administrative team working hand in hand. So as I said, we're leading in this time of crisis. That leading includes leadership, communication, public safety, and interagency collaboration. On behalf of the entire City Council, I just want to say a special thank you to our first responders, to the nurses, to the doctors, to the custodians, to the technicians in our hospitals and clinics, everyone who is on the front lines providing service. To our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, thank you. To our city employees who are essential workers and out there in the field delivering things for our residents, thank you. To our city council, to our collaborators, to our administrative team, to everyone that's been involved donating masks. We've had so many wonderful businesses today, 2 businesses donating more masks. It has been truly a community effort to get us through this. And it hasn't been easy. It's not going to be easy. I wish I could say that we're going to wake up from this tomorrow and everything's going to be back to the normal that we once knew. Unfortunately, it's not. And we have to be prepared for that. I was in court today, so I wear a couple hats. I'm your mayor, but I'm also a prosecutor for the city of LA. And I remember telling some of the folks in court today, I feel like I'm in the movie Groundhog Day. And every day I wake up and every day it's the same thing. And I'm hoping that one day I'm just going to wake up and it'll all be over. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's very hard as a parent to hold your daughter when she's crying because of all the things, all the emotions that she's feeling. I'm sure many of you are experiencing very similar types of things. It's a very challenging times for parents. How do you explain to your children that this is happening? Why is this happening? Seeing empty shelves, seeing people on the streets with masks. Never expected in my lifetime that we would experience something like this. So we're trying to rise to the occasion. Our residents here have done so, and your government is trying to do the same. So we want to thank each and every one of you for all that you're doing. By doing your part, by staying home, by sacrificing, and by suffering, you're doing your part to protect others from getting this horrific disease. I want to thank, and I'm glad that the pictures that we're showing now start off with hope, shower of hope. The county has facilitated so that homeless people in our community, unsheltered people in our community, have the opportunity of dignity and have a shower and a meal. So we want to give a special thank you to the county for helping to facilitate that. This is a picture of our city manager with Supervisor Hilda Solis. And I just can't thank Supervisor Solis enough for her leadership, for her courage, and for all the work that she's doing. She is unstoppable, unflappable, a complete professional. And her staff has been wonderful to work with as well, and we are so grateful for them. Here's a picture of at the food pantry with representatives from our Savior Center, from the city, and Supervisor Solis. They provided $10,000 for the food pantry. Mountain View School District, thank you for facilitating a location to have that food pantry. As you can see, here's some of the food that was distributed. Here's another image of Council Members Velasco and our Mayor Pro Tem Maria Morales helping to hand out hot meals. And I believe for that event, Councilmember Ancona joined us as well. And then, we try to role model best practices for Easter. We had a hidden egg hunt on our website. Someone found our hidden egg and won the prize. And here we have a picture of the Easter Bunny practicing, maybe not social distancing, but definitely practicing good behavior with the mask on. And again, here our police officer is receiving a donation of masks for our first responders. And by the way, if you're at home, tuned in, paying attention to this, and you don't have masks and you need masks, please contact City Hall. We have masks to distribute to you as well. So please do contact City Hall for that. This was at the opening of the testing location here in El Monte at the San Gabriel Valley Airport. As we had representatives, elected officials from other cities as well to see this opening of the testing location. And right up front and center, who's that? Of course, it's Supervisor Hilda Solis, helping to lead the charge in this. By the way, as many of you have noticed, we've had an increasing number of positive cases in the city of El Monte. And we attribute that to the fact that we have now a testing location nearby that's easily accessible, and people are being tested, and that's good, because once they get tested and they show that they have the virus, they can now shelter in place. They can also get the appropriate treatment if necessary, and hopefully recover from the virus. In terms of economic development activities, we've had the following activities take place. The Housing Division has assisted 55 people regarding rental assistance, homeless vouchers, legal aid, home minor repair program, eviction ordinance, and local housing list. Building Division had 940 calls, conducted 253 inspections, issued 10 building permits, and 19 business occupancy permits. Code Enforcement has opened 89 new cases, and yes, the city is still working. We're still getting a variety of different tips from residents about issues related to code, and our code enforcement officers are out there. Code Enforcement has also closed 58 cases, and they're assisting with the delivery of hot meals to seniors. So we've got people who are tasked to do certain things, and they're doing it willingly to help the community. Our Planning Division has had more than 198 counter calls. Planning Division had 33 ministerial projects submitted. So work is still happening here for those folks that are essential to building our community. And that is those are all the slides that we have for you today. But I wanted to give a more personal conversation with all of you and say thank you again. Thank you to each and every employee that we have here who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that our residents get taken care of. This is as I've said over and over again, a very challenging situation. Many of our residents are experiencing anxiety, stress, whether it's related to finances, whether it's related to just wanting to protect themselves from this virus. There's a lot of fear out there as well that what happens if I contract this virus. So we encourage each and every one of you that may be feeling this way to seek help. Make sure we have provided postcards and also the COVID-19 special newsletter that has valuable information on how to get services. Please reach out to us. If we know what you need, we may not be able to have the answer right then and there, but we will figure it out with you together. We have staff here that is very creative and very driven to serving this community. So, and we need to hear that. For example, that small business grant program, we only have funding for 55 of those at $10,000 a pop. We got more than 700 applications. So we can look at that and say, oh, geez, there's a lot of people that may not get funding, a lot of businesses that may not get funded. But I'm glad that you all applied, because now we know what the demand is. And knowing what the demand is, we can try to find additional resources. We can make a pitch to the federal government. We can make a pitch to the state and local county government for more resources. We need to know what the demand is. So that means each and every one of you, if you have a moment, call City Hall. Let us know what your needs may be. You may be a senior in a hot home and you need a way to cool off. Let us know. You may be someone who needs food and needs to participate in our food pantry. Let us know. You may be someone who needs rental assistance, or maybe you're in a situation where your landlord is threatening to evict you. Let us know. We're here to serve you. Unless we know, we can't help you. Please be patient with our staff. They've got a lot of stress themselves, and they've got, families as well to take care of. But at the end of the day, we're here to serve each and every one of you. And we're honored to have the privilege to be able to do that. On behalf of the entire City Council, our Mayor Pro Tem, Maria Morales, Council Members Jessica Ancona, Council Member Victoria Martinez Muela, and Council Member Jerry Velasco, we thank you for allowing us to serve you. And on behalf of the City Management team and our City Manager, Alma Martinez, we thank you for this opportunity to serve. And we wish you well. Please stay safe, wear your masks, and we'll continue to share communications like this throughout this pandemic to help in this time of crisis. Thank you, and God bless.